Bills criminalizing protests are being considered in states across the U.S. 8 different state legislators across the U.S. are simultaneously considering nearly identical new laws that will criminalize protests on property defined as critical infrastructure. The legal definition of critical infrastructure incorporates almost everything, serving as the backbone of the current economic system. The bills roll out severe criminal penalties for people who go onto oil and gas industry-owned property, which are defined as critical infrastructure under state law. If the bills pass into law, it will mean increasingly harsh enforcement mechanisms for prosecutors to use against people trying to protect their communities and families. Critics say the laws are designed to prevent pipeline protesters and others calling attention to corporate infrastructure destroying communities. Well, yeah, because when you're protesting a pipeline, where is the best place to be? Where the frickin' pipeline's gonna go. That's the best place to be. So they don't want you there. For a number of reasons. A, you disrupt their daily work, which is the whole point. And B, and when I say they, I mean the oil and gas industry. And B, if more people go and they look at those sites, more people are going to be like, holy fuck, and they're going to turn their cameras on, and they're going to tell people, and more people are going to know what this shit does to our land. I have been opposed to fracking since I knew what it was. And even before I saw the movie Gasland. You want to know why? Because I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the time. I was a graduate student by day, and by night I was starting to make a little bit of money as a stand-up comedian, doing some road gigs in the area. I would drive on these back roads, and I would see these freaking fracking wells. And you just look at it, and you're like, holy shit, this is not safe. And I know that sounds a little elementary, and maybe it is, but have you ever seen one up close? Have you ever, you look at these, and then you do some reading. I didn't just see it, and I'm like, I can tell this is a boogeyman. I saw it, and I was like, this does not look okay. Then I did research and reading, and I saw the movie Gasland, and I did more research and more reading, and I did a media ecological study on the fracking industry in Pennsylvania, how they sponsor stuff and buy advertising to get favorable coverage, so they have 2,800 environmental regulations that go underreported by year. 2,800. Keep in mind, the EPA is little more than a slap on the wrist to begin with. The EPA is very soft and corrupt themselves. And even by their lax standards, 2,800 violations. So anyway, they don't want you on these properties. They don't want you near these properties. You might do what I did. You might see it and be like, what the fuck? And then you might do some more digging. So they don't want you on these properties. And by the way, how do you define, let's get back to the article for a second. How do you define critical infrastructure? And as the article says, that incorporates almost everything. Critical infrastructure is a street. A street is critical infrastructure. That's critical. If we don't have streets, we need streets to go places. That's critical infrastructure. A bridge is critical infrastructure. A sidewalk. How is that not critical? That's critical. We need a... What are you going to do without sidewalks? Yeah, this is not good legislation, obviously. All right, so here's the states considering this. Indiana, Illinois, Mississippi. Oh, interesting. The pipeline capitals, Pennsylvania, home of the Marcellus Shale, and North Dakota, home of Dakota Access. Wyoming, Idaho, Ohio, all started considering this corporate design legislation. Ohio, another issue with fracking. Mississippi, the Gulf. And I'm not directly familiar with what Wyoming and Idaho. Well, I know there's some aquifers out there. So I'm pretty sure all of these states, I know at least for sure Pennsylvania, North Dakota, Ohio, they all have a lot of environmental issues when it comes to issues of pipelines and fracking. And I'm assuming that these other states have their issues too. And that's why these states in particular are looking at this legislation. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what Get your news on with Ron. Don't you wanna know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and make it our own. Get your news